Sharell, you mentioned something before that I'd love to hear you unpack a little bit. You talked about in the work of mission with youth, helping youth change their worldview and giving them opportunities to do that. Can you explain a bit more about what that actually looks like for you on the ground?
Sure. So, in a traditional sense of mission, we tend to think of mission as something that kind of happens over there, or we relegate mission to certain areas of the world or certain populations. And so, part of what it looks like to empower youth is that I work with a lot of youth in urban areas in Philadelphia. And so, in Philadelphia, most people see Philadelphia as a mission ground.
Hmm.
And so they remove the ability of those who actually live there to participate in mission. And so a part of what we empower the kids to do through mission trips is first, you got to give them the geographical kind of layout so that there are things in the neighborhood you live in that need to be done. There's, a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's mission work. And that's one definition of it. But then the other side of that is that there is work where you can go outside of where you live in the place where you're most familiar with, and you can impact another group of people, another set of people. And I think it's important that when you're doing that, you do two things, so that when I take you out of the place where you're most comfortable, when I take you outside of, that 2-3 mile radius of your house, I'm taking you and I'm putting you in a different situation, so that where you were the majority, and so if I'm working with a group of African American youth from Southwest Philadelphia, and then I take them out of Southwest Philadelphia and I put them in a more rural area, or I put them, off the main line, then I've instantly shifted their idea of one, where does mission happen? How is it that I can do mission work in kind of a more affluent area, in an area in a section of the city where people, one, don't look like me, they don't talk like me, that kind of thing. And it forces them to understand and to see that there are people everywhere that need help. And the way that I can help them is the same everywhere. It kind of removes some of the boundaries that we put in place that separate us in a lot of ways. And then at the same time, you make them more comfortable outside of those, the areas that they're used to. But when you keep them in their kind of 3-4 mile radius of their house, it lets them see multiple things too. Like, one, there are things that I can do here that are still powerful, that are still impactful, that are still me, practically exercising my faith. And then two, it helps them to see positive things in their community. They may be confronted with the negative side of their community naturally, but when you put them in a situation where they're doing mission or they're doing outreach, and you're connecting them with other people in the area that are doing mission and are doing outreach, it kind of breaks down this idea that this section of the city or this portion of a population is only one thing or can only do one thing. So I think it takes all of the preconceptions that they have. It takes all of the things that, we take as certainties, and then it kind of blows that up. And it forces them to piece it back together in a new way that takes into consideration all of the experience that they've gotten. So that if I am in a poor section, financially poor, because I'll say that there are different types of poverty, and a section of the city that is financially poor does not mean that they are poor in every other way. So if I take them out of that section of the city where they've worked in a soup kitchen, but then I put them in another section of the city, and they're working on building houses, they see how those skills kind of translate to different areas, and they remove the stereotypes and kind of the stigma that if you live here, everything in life goes well.
Hmm.
If you are part of this group, then you don't have any problems. And it forces them to see that we have more in common than we have separately. And that no matter what part of life you find yourself in, no matter what zip code you find yourself in, there are always going to be people that need help. There are always going to be people that need someone to reach out to them and to show them compassion and kindness, which is kind of the heart of mission work. It's really us having compassion and empathy for another group.
Hmm. That's beautiful. Thanks.